Hey guys, in this video I'm making a round end table. It's for the same person who I made the double-sided desk for. Here's just the rough plywood from the store. I usually give myself an extra inch or so because you can see where they cut it. It's very torn up. So I like to be able to cut that part off, but I can't get it in my car unless it's cut at least once. These parts are all going to be cut to make the circles of the end table, as you'll see later. And I'm sorry about my camera. Throughout this video it's going to focus in and out. I can't do much about it. I'm just doing the best with what I got. I'm putting tape on now because that's an old blade that I have in there, and it's hit a nail at least once. But I really love this plywood. It's 3/4 inch birch, pure bond. Very few voids. I hit like maybe one void through the whole thing, and it probably would have cut just fine even without the tape. But I didn't want to take any chances. This is probably not something you should do. And I probably could have opened the garage door to make it easier on myself, but then my dog gets out and I don't want to deal with it. So I just wrestled it onto the table saw. I didn't want to use my circular saw either because I dropped it once and it doesn't really track very well anymore. So it's always much better for me to use a table saw. Gets me a better, straighter cut. Still making some circles. I believe I needed 6 circles, all different sizes. Not all different sizes, but I think there was 3 different sizes but amongst those circles. And I made a circle cutting jig from a bandsaw, but it kept sticking and I didn't want to mess with it anymore. When I was trying to slide it in, I couldn't get it to go straight, and then I can't seem to get as much tension as I need on this bandsaw either. There's a whole story behind fixing it and everything, but it just doesn't seem to tension very much, so it was just easier for me and faster to do it freehand. And I'm just sanding it down to the line. I did that with all 6 circles, I believe. And now I have a new blade, but I'm still using the tape. And I didn't need to. With the new blade, it was fine after a while. I think I did like a test cut and then realized I don't need it anymore. These parts are going to be the kind of the walls of the end table. Yeah, see here I start cutting it without tape and it's perfectly fine. Here I'm making a half lap joint for the top part of the table. My hair is not as close to the blade as it looks, and I've had it that way for my entire life, pretty much. From high school on, I'm hair challenged. I can't put it up very well, and I've always worked with it like this, so I'm always aware of where my hair is. It's like another arm, so don't worry. I've never had a problem with it. There's a ton of routing to do on this table. I spared you most of it. I don't enjoy using the router. It's heavy, it makes a mess, it's super loud. But I did a couple tests and this was the best and strongest way to put it together. It's all put together just routing the slots. This is a 1/2 inch router bit. I have 3/4, but of course the plywood's not exactly 3/4, so I had to take 2 passes to get it so it fit real snug. And then these are stopped right at the edge, so I had to square them up with the chisel. I've already assembled part of it. The other part is pretty much the same as this. I labeled everything and the part that it goes into, but you'll see in a minute that it doesn't matter. I dry fit before I glue up, and as soon as you put the glue on and go and put it back together, it's all messed up. So I find that's usually how it goes, even if I label everything. Spared you a lot of sanding too. There's a ton of hand sanding on this piece. See, like these parts are all labeled where they go, but then when you put it together it doesn't fit right. The pattern to this table, it's split down the middle, and then alternately it's split into a third. You can kind of see there. You can kind of display stuff on it in the little nooks. I was given a picture of the table, what they wanted, but I couldn't find the owner of that picture or the designer or anything, so I chose not to include it in the video. And this is the top part of the table. Also, you'll see I could have used edge banding to cover up the plywood edges, but I ultimately chose not to because I felt like it's a little less durable. I mean, because you can, especially on an end table, you can catch the edge and peel it, and it can come off eventually. And I also didn't want it to look like a melamine table, like you could buy, you know, at a department store. That's not what they wanted, or they wouldn't have come to me. So I leave the edges bare, and then because it's such a good plywood, I end up priming the edges and sanding them. And if you do that a couple times, no matter what the surface is, it's eventually going to be smooth, and that's what I did on all the edges. I just smoothed them out with primer and paint, and it looked way better than it would have with the other edges. And I don't have to worry about it coming apart in the future. Again, I labeled all those pieces, and they won't go back together. I think I turned it around twice already. I had a tough time fitting all these pieces because they stop where every circle is, but they have to all line up perfectly so that it looks like that line continues through the whole table. So I had to make sure everything was just right, or it would have looked off and wrong. This is where I almost thought I was going to stop making videos, because I forgot my tripod was right there, and it's going down. And the camera fell on the floor, and I'm not in a position to buy a new camera right now, so but I picked it up and it was still working, thankfully. But that couldn't have helped it already. It's already having trouble focusing, and I don't think that helped any. This part goes around the bottom in a circular manner. I thought about a couple different ways of doing this, and this seemed like it would look the best. And I probably could have done some math to figure out just exact spacings. But right here I have to raise the blade just a little bit more so it bends more. But it worked the way I did it, so. Let's see if I had done it correctly and worked out all the math and everything. The pieces would have touched each other in the middle, which would make it a little bit stronger, but it's not. It's plenty strong this way. And this just gives me a real nice, smooth outside edge when you're looking at it, so it looks better when it's painted. This is the interior of support for that piece as well. Kind of lost some of the footage. I cut out the inside of the circle, which you can't see. But here that piece is. And this is the very bottom of the end table. Obviously it was a tight fit. And then I put in these little spacers just for some extra support. The table's not super heavy, but it was getting there, and I want to make sure everything stays the way I made it. Also, there's no mechanical fasteners of any kind in the whole table. I knew it's going to have enough work on my hands getting those edges nice and smooth, and I didn't want to have to worry about filling in any other screw holes or hiding anything. And here's the primer on the edges. And you can see I sand it with about 400. And I repeat this process quite a few times until the edges were nice and smooth, and then I put on the finishing coat. And you can see it's kind of blotchy. It's hard to get a nice finish with spray paint, especially when it's like 90 degrees in October still. It's drying right away, so that polyacrylic right there, I love it on top of black paint especially. It smooths out the finish, and it's all one nice sheen when by the time you get done with it. This is just one coat, and you can see how much better it looks. And I'll put on I think 2 more coats. And it doesn't actually spin. I just put it on a Lazy Susan for the video, so you can kind of see what it looks like when it's all finished. Thanks for watching, guys.